Good morning. It is morning. So I've got lilies in the background there. I was going to use the other half of the page to paint the cyclamen. I'd forgotten about the cyclamen. I stuck them out in the garden studio because I knew they liked the cold, and I was looking for something that had that colour in it today, and then I saw that and I thought, oh, I could actually paint that on top of there. And then I was looking around for a palette to use to put the paint on, and I thought I could use this. It's like a landscape thing. And then when I put it up there, I thought, you know what? There's less to do to get that to look like that than to get that to look like that. And I felt a bit more inspired about this one because I thought the cyclamen could kind of rise above the landscape there, above the horizon. And then I found some quinacridine red. Magenta, actually, quinacridine magenta that looks like this. I'll show you now in a second. Just want to be sure what I'm doing. I'll just try it. So the red is it's a good colour for these cyclamen. I had actually put out some acrylic red, which I might go back to as well. But then this seemed like such a gift that it's so exactly the colour that I thought I might use this instead of the acrylic today. We'll see. And then I didn't want to labour over it, like, so this is going to be, whatever is going to be made, it's going to be fairly swift because I want to do my yoga and meditation and I haven't yet done that. But some days I found this to be a nice way in to the day to start with the painting. So you see the watercolour now isn't going to work over this paper down here of that colour. So I could either paint some paper and stick it on, or I could use the acrylic, which would work over the green. But the acrylic is a slightly different shade, so then I thought maybe I could mix the watercolour and the acrylic together. I've created more of a distance there, but I kind of like the gap between the bundle and then the single one on its own. So I'm letting the drops be the deepest tones there. So when I want it to be really dark, I kind of press the brush hard. This is my acrylic brush really. But sure, watercolour won't damage anything. Okay, I'll just see what would happen if I was to put a touch of it over the green. Not too bad when it's in the shadow. And actually that's kind of where the petal is dropping down there into the light a little bit, so I might do a bit of collage there in that bit. Okay, and that'll be a touch lower than it is just now. And that too. Okay, Maisie's gone out. I forgot that the dog walker was coming today, so I met her at the door, bewildered in my pyjamas, because last night I didn't go to bed until 3. I think I did the same thing last Monday. Last Monday I was determined to have my scones and tea, and I ended up baking at midnight. You know, one of those days where you're kind of I was thinking all day long, when I'm done now with all my jobs, I'll sit down and have scones and a cup of tea. And all my jobs, for whatever reason, didn't end up getting done until, midnight. So then I ended up painting. I ended up making the scones at midnight. And I set up the table nicely for myself, usual caper, just here by the window. And I read my book, and it was very nice. And sure, I suppose that's the thing, working for myself, the joy of that is that I can have strange hours. But I do think it's important to look after myself that way, because I think too many late nights, body clock gets a bit confused. And yeah, I was thinking after last night, I'm glad that I got up early because I'm going to have an early night tonight. You heard it here first. And then tomorrow I'm going to be doing a trial run for the workshop on Thursday, the online the online workshop where I'm painting that cyclist, Callum Skinner. This is all a bit of a jumble there now, but it's a kind of a way in, and I think it's going to work. I'll tell you why I think it's going to work, because I think once I start making the negative spaces between the stems, they begin to read more as cyclamen then, and I could even maybe use ink over the top of the white. I'll just use the white oil pastel again, I reckon. This is chalk. I'll just see what the chalk might look like. Chalk might be a good way in first. Okay, I meant to stick on the picture onto the board. So here's some chalk. It's a little less dominant than the white oil pastel that I sometimes use. So I'm going to let the chalk be the first foray into the wilderness below these flowers here. And I mean, actually I'd say the white oil pastel will be a quicker way of diminishing the background, all right, but just as slightly. Yeah, I'll just use the oil pastel. It's taking me too long to get around all those bits. Okay, so for the light side anyway, I'll use the oil. Okay, so here, what's that now? So that's the bud coming down. So this will all be curtain, 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 and then there's another little bud that sticks out there. And this is where the leaves meet the curtain on that side, and there's the downward slope there, which is lovely. So this is Caran d'Ache oil pastel. You know, I hardly ever say nowadays what my name is or anything, and I've not put the links below the videos for a long time, so maybe this will be the one where I change that and start doing that again, because I do like communicating with people all over the place, and you know, the more the merrier. The more the merrier. So my name is Aine Devine, and I come from Cork in Ireland originally, but I've lived in Edinburgh now for over 20 years, and I've got 3 Scottish children, 3 daughters, and I'm living with Erin and Lily, the 2 youngest, just now. Hope is in Edinburgh with her boyfriend in a flat. So that's I don't know, why did I need to give you that biography? Anyway, there we are. That's who I am, and I love this whole arc of sharing my little artistic adventures, especially from home. There seems to be something quite nice about just connecting with folk in a creative way, direct from my living room, and seeing the possibility in playing with materials at home and creating art, and just creating really anything. But it's exciting, you know, to have stuff around that's possible to use to make pictures. And I'm doing an online flower painting course at the moment, so I'll probably share this to that group as well. But I find the flowers are generally a great source of information for me. No, inspiration is what I should say. All year round, like, they're lovely, aren't they? Okay, so I'm just finding the spaces between the flowers here, like with my eyes half closed, trying to distinguish between stem and background, and just find the character of the flowers as they sweep upwards there. I think this is still quite light here, but then the grey, hope I'm not covering, oh bugger, am I covering your view? I was saying I think it's still quite light there, but then it gets grey as we go over for the triangle of space between this flower that's shooting off on its own and the bundle of the flowers that are here. And maybe just add a little bit more of that quinacridine. When my eyes are half closed, there's a whole section really here of the bright red in the background. It's quite nice that the watercolour's resisting the oil, obviously, the oil pastel, so it's not splurging everywhere. Okay, maybe I can deepen the tone in that one as well. Being in front, it's a bit darker. Just putting another layer over the dried in paint. It's always lovely to let the mark have its own control itself a little bit as well, like to let the paint do what it wants to do. It seems like when that happens that it does something, when it's allowed to, it can do something inspiring that you mightn't have planned. So I would say to come with an element of with an air of spontaneity and a willingness to not control everything. It's probably a good philosophy for life, isn't it? I don't know how well I practice it in life generally, but it seems like a good idea not to have such a hard grip on everything and how things should be. Right. Okay, I'm finding my arm getting really quite tired. I think my body generally is tired. I went dancing twice at the weekend and I've been doing my yoga in the morning, which actually is really good. Like, I'm going to do a slow one this morning now for an hour maybe, really gradually work my way in, and then I'll maybe go and have a nice afternoon with my book in a cafe. That's what I'm going to do. And I've got new trousers that are kind of flowery, so I'm going to do all that today. That's my plan. I'm getting excited now. I forgot about the today's kind of a day off for me a wee bit, because I don't have to walk Maisie after she's been with her friends in that field. I think they go a bit nuts, to be honest, but the girl that takes them is lovely and she's mad about dogs. No, I was going to put some grey. I think I'll go with the grey oil pastel. I know, or there's the grey chalk. Just to show that it gets darker as it goes along there, you know. There's a lovely cafe near here called the Secret Herb Garden, and they're doing they've got an outdoor greenhouse area, and it's just lovely. It's really lovely. Just now you forget about everything and you go there, there's plants growing all around you and everything. And when I say plants, like there's a, you know, like a pear. I did a little drawing of some pears. There's pears growing. They're all trussed up against the wall at the back of the greenhouse. And there's pears and peaches and apples and every sort of thing. Really lovely. So you feel surrounded by nature, loads of greenery. And that's only indoors. Like outside, it's incredible altogether. They've got a lovely rose garden there now. And everything is kind of arced, you know, all in kind of circles and beautifully proportioned. It feels like a small version of Versailles or something. You know, one of these really grand gardens that are beautifully orderly and designed. It's very, very beautiful. Designed really, I think, with a real knowledge and appreciation of plants, and they really, I feel like Jamie, who runs the place, seems to really know his stuff. I heard him interviewed one day when I was sitting there by the Beech Grove Garden, and he was talking all about the things that grow, the medicinal quality, the medicinal, what would you say, attributes or something of daisies, and you know, that stuff, sticky willy that sticks to you, all of those things being, you know, for good for detoxing the liver or whatever. That apparently daisies have similar properties. That's the word I was looking for. Similar properties to arnica. And so he was talking about just, you know, where you stand. Look where you stand. Dig where you stand is another book. Alistair McIntosh maybe wrote a book called Soil and Soul, and one of the things was to dig where you stand. I don't know, I'm getting a bit mixed up in my different quotes, but I think there's something lovely in that, kind of appreciating the world we're in right now. So yesterday I ended up getting some hawthorn berries. My friend was telling me they're good for making tea, good for the heart, to just simmer them for 20 minutes. And I put some elderberries in as well, and there's lovely richness to them. The colour makes, it's not unlike the colour of those cyclamen there. the elderberry stew. So elderberries and hawthorn berries I collect on my walk and made myself some tea with them. So I felt like I do think that's important, to kind of appreciate the stuff that's growing around ourselves. Not that I do it in my own garden or anything. I know lots of friends who are fantastic gardeners and they walk the talk, like. But even just to mark the season, to make some tea with those berries felt really good. Now over on this side, I need to bring it down a bit lower, and I think I want to bring in a different colour, grey, just to kind of, yeah, so there's where the curtain stops and the wall begins in the background. So the wall to me is more of that kind of a colour, and I wanted to bring it in just to have a bit of variety there, I think. It's maybe distracting having the lilies there for you, but I'm not noticing them. Okay, and now what about the stems? It's quite dark. One side of the stem is really quite dark. I just had a flash of a dream. I can't even remember now what it was exactly there, but I just realised a bit of my dream came into my head suddenly. I'm thinking I've been having fairly vivid dreams recently. I don't know about you now, but it's maybe since my friend was saying she's advertising dream workshops, and I wonder whether I'm being kind of gently goaded by my subconscious to join. Like, see, dreams can be interesting. Right, I'm not too far off stopping, you know. I don't want to just go into overkill. So I think sometimes I can go on and on and on, and there's no need. No, possibly I could do a bit more in the greens. Do you think? You see, if I start in the greens, I suppose if I were to find a colour like that, and just use that alone, rather than going for loads of different shades. And would I use oil pastel or would I use ink? I think ink to begin with, or maybe even watercolour actually. That's definitely water-based. I'm not sure if it's acrylic or watercolour that's there. I'm just going to see if my watercolour would have any impact over it. So I'm mixing the Viridian green and the sap green together to create a good heavy pigment there. And now I'll just see if it'll work. Oh yeah, it's fine. It's making an impact, alright. I think Lily's going to go and meet her pal in Roslin today. They're going to visit Daisy's tea room. You remember Daisy the sheep that was cloned? That's why it's called Daisy's tea room. That sheep was cloned in Roslin Institute, and the tea room is in Roslin. So there you have it. You know, just little bits maybe. I think I might work my way down too to explain those dark bits at the bottom here. But I'll play it by ear now for a while. So there's a kind of a shape here with my eyes half closed. I'm just picking out where the light leaves meet the shadows. I might even put some ultramarine blue there to deepen it a little bit further. Pulling and lifting makes it darker where I lift the brush. So I pull and lift here as well. There's some deeper tones. I mean, there's some stems and things coming through as well, but I'm probably just going to stick with leaf colour and leaf shape, and I won't bother too much about the stems that are in the darkness. in some more ultramarine blue into this because I want to get it. I think I'm going to do that dark shape behind that leaf. And you know, to be honest, it is the colour of the stems. So let me see if I've got burnt sienna. I might be able to just paint the rest in there to describe the heart-shaped leaf. So I am bringing in the colour of the stems after all, just to help outline some parts. I mean, that one has a bud, a beautiful bud at the end of it. So I might end up describing that one. And there's a little bud underneath that one as well. It's just rearing its head. It's gently bent at the moment. Okay. So much for my swift number. But I'm wanting to be succinct. Is that how you say it? I'm wanting to be succinct rather than swift, really. Just not to be launching everything at it. And as I speak, I'm loosening my grip on the palette as well. I didn't realise how tightly I was holding it. So there we are for a while. What about that? Yeah, you see, now I reckon I maybe need to introduce some grey, light greys into that side in order to make the leaves on this side facing away from us. Like, would that colour be a good one? I don't want it to be too, I don't want the leaves to be too dominant, but just the transition between light and dark here. So actually maybe this is a good colour for the slightly darker kind of mid-tone area between the leaves that are really bright and those that are darker. I'm not sure I like what I'm doing there, because it looks like the background as well. I'm just going to stop. I'm going to stop with the oil pastel. And let's see what will happen if I bring in some of this ink. Just find a couple of places to draw with the ink. So kind of a linking up process. I'm going to pretend that that leaf hanging down is green, because I like something anchoring down the group over there. And I'll bring that one a little bit lower than it is too, in order to pull down this side a touch. You can't even hardly see it, I'd say. I think I've changed my mind. About that. I'm going to just push that in so it's not so dominant. I think that'll be okay. It's like that edge of green, I'm not sure about it. Then again, it might be just to bring it over further, to bring the dark green across a little bit more. Looking at it on the screen there, I think that might be a good move, just to bring the green across a wee bit more. I know there's no green leaves there, but it's just something about the abrupt end of that one that bothered me a wee bit. Yeah, so I'm kind of pretending that the leaves are toppling down here. This is really wet now, this brush. That's all right. Okay. Maybe I'll use my finger in the acrylic. What about that? Colorways. Oh, it's a bit of a risk now using it there, isn't it? Is it? Just wanted to make that a little bit brighter, different from the rest. I think that's okay. I could use the side of it for the bud that's down here. All right. And then I might find a pink colour in the chalks that's bright enough. Maybe this, to explain the light and the bright buds that are down there. Maybe not quite that bright. This might work. It's a bit more peachy. Okay. I did end up finding that sepia coloured ink yesterday, which might be quite nice now to use for the stems. I don't know if there's much in there at all. Oh, here it is. It's gonna run there, isn't it? Don't think I've got any tissues either. Where did I put my tissues? They would have been handy there now to stop the flow of that a little bit. Well, there's just one in here I can use. Let's see, what do I want to do here? I just lift a little bit of the drop off. That's all right. This is ink now. With the dropper again, acrylic ink. And it's the bright colour, it's magenta. Process magenta. Don't know what process means. I'm just picking up some of those little drops of watercolour in order to, I could do it there again, in order to make it more fluid when I'm using the ink. That was a nice bright petal. I might still put something bright there instead. Like that chalk pastel seemed to be bright enough. Okay. Which chalk? It was this one. I think that might work for the bright pastel, for the bright petal. It's there. I mean, it would be even better if the ink and watercolor were fully dry, but it's okay. And I think I'm not so keen on that acrylic red on its own, so putting this over it I think brings it a bit closer to the colour. I love to do my best to get the colour as truly as I can. And there was just this little bud that was here. Bud that was there, and then if I put a touch of white pastel, white oil pastel I'm going to use here to lighten and brighten that side of the bud there. Every so often I look at the screen because I can see the painting on the screen and I know what I want to do next often through looking at it on there. Something that takes the heat off. I can kind of see it from a different viewpoint. I'm no longer so immersed in it. And that helps me to see a bit more clearly then. I think I might just stop there. I'm kind of faffing around, not really knowing what to do next. So I might look at that 35 minutes. I might come back to it later on, you'd never know. But I think for now I'm happy enough. Yeah. So I'll bring you up a bit closer. I'm kind of perched on the frame of a picture there. Okay, so there. That's what I've been up to. There's a fair variety of materials in there. Yeah, it was fun. Thanks for joining me. And I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, all the best. Bye.